10 R&B artists, one hit each, and then nothing. No second album that mattered, no follow-up that connected, no second act that came close. Just one perfect moment, and then the silence. And here's the thing about that silence. It's louder than the music, because when you go looking for what happened after the song, that's when the real story starts.
Very sweet. Love that man, and I don't...
Bad deals, wrong labels, bad timing, tragedy. Sometimes all of it at once. We're going back through 3 decades of soul and R&B, from the early 60s all the way through 1989, and we're pulling out 10 artists who each had exactly one moment in the spotlight.
A good time, big city slice. I've had enough.
One moment, and then they were gone. You've heard these songs, you just never knew the story behind them. Stay with me, because some of what's coming, you are not ready for it. Number 10, Claudine Clark, Party Lights, 1962. The first thing you need to know is this. The song that made her famous wasn't even supposed to be the hit. Claudine was 21 years old, studying at the Combs College of Music in Philadelphia. Sharp girl, wrote her own material at a time when most female artists were being handed songs by the label. She'd been trying to get something going for years, a few singles on small labels, local attention, nothing that crossed over, until she landed at Chancellor Records in 1962. But here's what Chancellor did. They already had their A-side picked out, a ballad called Disappointed, written by the label's own people. And they put Claudine's song, the one she had written herself, about being stuck in her room while her friends were at a party she couldn't get into, on the B-side, as a throwaway, a courtesy to the girl who wrote it. Then radio stations started playing the B-side, not because anyone at the label pushed it, not because it was the single they promoted, because it connected. Girls heard themselves in it, that feeling of watching the lights from somebody else's party shine through your window while you're stuck inside. Requests poured in from coast to coast, and Party Lights climbed to number 5 on the pop charts and number 3 on the R&B charts in the summer of 1962, without a single ounce of promotional support from the people who were supposed to believe in her. The hit happened, and then came the follow-up. I want you to hear what they gave her next. Walking Through a Cemetery, that's the actual title. After a top 5 soul record about longing and wanting to belong, they handed her a Halloween novelty song. Nobody wanted it. They tried a few more singles, nothing. Chancellor Records folded by 1964. Claudine tried other labels, different names, different songs. Nothing clicked. She eventually married a pastor, raised her family, and faded from the music world entirely. By the 1970s, she was teaching and raising her children in Philadelphia. That was the life. But here's the part I keep coming back to. She wrote Party Lights herself, which meant royalties, decades of them. From the B-side they almost threw away, from the song the label thought was a throwaway. The industry can take a lot from an artist. It can't always take the song you wrote. Number 9, Anita Ward, Ring My Bell, 1979. The story of Ring My Bell might be the most accidental number 1 in the history of soul and R&B. Here's where it starts. Anita was working as a substitute school teacher in Memphis when this happened. Not part-time between gigs while she figured out her music career. She was teaching elementary school full-time to pay the bills, with a manager named Chuck Holmes slowly shopping her around the labels, building something at whatever pace was possible. She meets a songwriter named Frederick Knight. They record some sessions together. Things feel promising. but they need one more record, something up-tempo, something that can catch the current radio moment. And Knight remembers a song he wrote the year before for an 11-year-old named Stacy Lattisaw, who had been meant to sign to Knight's label. A song about kids talking on the telephone, literally. That was the original version. Stacy Lattisaw had already signed somewhere else, so the song was just sitting there. Knight rewrites the lyrics for Anita, makes it something for grown folks, changes the bell in the title from a telephone to something considerably less innocent. Anita does not want this song. She's a gospel-raised girl from Memphis who loves ballads, and this thing feels cheap to her. Knight talks her into it, tells her they need a dance record, tells her the moment is right for something up-tempo. She records it and moves on. The summer of 1979, Ring My Bell goes to number 1. Pop charts, R&B charts, the UK charts, everywhere simultaneously. And Anita Ward is still teaching school when they called to tell her the song has gone gold. She had no idea it was even being played on the radio. She almost turned down an appearance on Wolfman Jack's Midnight Special, the big national TV showcase, because she had a class the next morning. Then everything came apart fast. The follow-up barely registered. Her manager, Chuck Holmes, the man who believed in her from the start and built everything with her, died in 1981. She would say later, once he died, it seemed like my career died too. No one was ringing my bell anymore. A car accident on tour. The disco backlash sweeping the genre into the past. She went back to teaching. Years later, she was working the register at JCPenney in Memphis. She would smile about it in interviews. My ego is not so big that I say, no, I'm a star. I can't work a real job. And there's something in that, something dignified and real that the industry never gave her credit for. If you were dancing in 1979, you already know what that record felt like. That bell, that groove, it was everywhere that summer. She deserved more than she got. That's number 9. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, Fontella Bass, Rescue Me, 1965. I want you to hold this picture in your mind before anything else. New Year's Day, 1990, Fontella Bass is sitting in a cold house in St. Louis. The only heat she has is coming from the gas stove in the kitchen. She's exhausted. She's broke. She's at the lowest point she can remember. And then she hears her own voice on the television. American Express is running a commercial, a global campaign, and the song in the commercial is Rescue Me, her song, the one she helped write, the one she recorded in 1965, and they never asked her, never paid her, just took it. Let me back up 25 years because that's where this story starts. It's 1965. Fontella is a 24-year-old session musician at Chess Records in Chicago, the legendary label built on blues and soul. She goes into the studio one day with a writer named Raynard Minor, and they build a song together from scratch. The rhythm section in the room that day includes a drummer named Morris White and a bassist named Louis Satterfield. Both of them will go on to found Earth, Wind, and Fire. And among the backing vocalists is a young woman named Minnie Riperton. Rescue Me goes to number 1 on the R&B charts and number 4 on the pop charts in 1965. It becomes Chess Records' first million-selling single since Chuck Berry, Chess's biggest single in a decade. Fontella was 24 years old, and she had just made history. But when she goes to collect the songwriting royalties, the credit she was promised, her name is not on the paper. The check is $11,000. When I saw how little it was, she said later, I tore it up and threw it back across the desk. I need you and your love to come on and rescue. She demanded proper credit, demanded more artistic control, got labeled difficult. Chess showed her the door. The next decade and a half, smaller labels, a few records, a move to Paris with her husband, the jazz trumpeter Lester Bowie, a family to raise, and a slow drift away from the music that had defined her. And rescue me. Come on, baby, and rescue. Then, 1990, sitting by the stove, hearing Rescue Me in a credit card commercial, she said it felt like a sign, and she didn't let it pass. She sued American Express and their advertising agency, Ogilvy and Mather, for unauthorized use of her recording. In 1993, she won a settlement of $50,000 plus punitive damages. She used that money to get back on her feet, return to gospel music, recorded again on her own terms for the first time in years. Fontella Bass died on December 26, 2012. She was 72 years old. Sometimes the rescue comes late, but it still comes. Can't you see that I'm lonely? Number 7, Bobby Hebb, Sunny, 1966.
Sunny, thank you for the sunshine.
If you don't know this story, I need you to pay attention to every word. November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy is assassinated. The whole country stops breathing. The next day, November 23rd, Bobby Hebb's older brother Harold is stabbed to death outside a nightclub in Nashville. Two of the darkest moments in American life, back to back, one day apart. Bobby had grown up in Nashville. His parents were both blind musicians. He and his brother Harold had performed together as a song and dance duo since Bobby was 3 years old. They'd been a team their whole lives. Bobby had gone on to play spoons in Roy Acuff's band at the Grand Ole Opry. He'd backed Bo Diddley. He was a man who had always found his way through music. And now, in the wreckage of those 2 consecutive days. Thank you for that gleam that flows with grace. With the whole country shattered and his brother gone, he sat down and wrote a song. He wrote Sunny, not to mourn, to find the light. He would say years later, everybody was feeling rather negative at that time, and I think we all needed a lift. He wasn't performing optimism. He was clawing his way toward it. The man who wrote one of the most radiantly hopeful songs in the history of recorded music wrote it from the very bottom of grief. He recorded it in New York in early 1966. It went to number 2 on the pop charts, held off number 1 for 2 weeks by Summer in the City, and number 3 on the R&B charts. It hit the top 10 in multiple countries. I love you. And in the summer of 1966, Bobby Hebb opened for the Beatles on their final American tour, the last concert tour the Beatles ever completed. Think about that for a moment. I love you. Sunny went on to become one of the most covered songs of the 20th century. Of artists over 5 decades, performed in a dozen languages. BMI rated it number 25 on its list of the top 100 songs of the century. In 2020, Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas sang it for a global pandemic benefit concert watched by hundreds of millions of people. But Bobby Hebb never had another hit. Alcohol took hold. The momentum never came back. He recorded a disco version in 1976 that barely registered. He worked the smaller rooms and the older circuits and watched the world keep covering his song while he faded from view. He died in Nashville on August 3rd, 2010, quietly. In the city he'd always called home.
10 feet tall, sunny, one so true.
There's a reason Sunny still makes you feel something every time you hear it. Now you know why. Number 6, the Winstons, Color Him Father, 1969. Stay with me on this one because there's a surface story here and there's a deeper story underneath it. And the deeper one is one of the most devastating things I've ever learned about this industry. Color Him Father, Washington, D.C., 1969. The song is written from the point of view of a child whose mother has remarried, a child who loves this stepfather so completely that he wants to call him father the same way everyone else does. It's a song about love that's earned rather than given by blood, about belonging, about family built from choice.
I'm gonna color him love, yes I will.
It hit number 7 on the pop charts, number 2 on the R&B charts. It sold over 1 million copies, and it won the Grammy Award for Best R&B Song in 1970. The Winstons were a mixed-race group at a time when that made it genuinely difficult to secure certain bookings, especially across the South. They struggled with it throughout their career. They disbanded the same year they won the Grammy. Band leader Richard Spencer, a man with a saxophone, a voice, and a gold record on his wall, went back to school, earned his degrees, spent decades working for the Washington Metro Transit System, and eventually became a high school history teacher and pastor in his hometown. That's the surface story. That's a Grammy winner who ended up teaching school and working transit, and that's already something to think about. Now here's the second layer. The B-side of Color Him Father was an instrumental called Amen Brother. They wrote it in roughly 20 minutes to fill out the single. Nothing special.
Say she never love again, but there he stood.
The drummer, a man named Gregory Coleman, later said he didn't care much for how it sounded. He was filling time. At 1 minute and 26 seconds into that song, Coleman plays a 4-bar drum break that lasts 7 seconds. That 7-second break became the most sampled drum recording in the history of recorded music.
I'm gonna color him father.
The almond break, used in over 4,000 tracks. Some sources say far more. It was foundational to the birth of hip-hop. It helped create drum and bass music, jungle music, an entire wing of electronic sound. You have heard it in NWA. You have heard it in Amy Winehouse. You have heard it in David Bowie. You've heard it in places nobody's even counted yet.
I'm gonna color him father.
The Winstons received nothing. Not one payment. By the time Richard Spencer found out in 1996, when a UK label called asking for the master tapes, the copyright window had already closed. He'd been working transit. He didn't know.
I'm gonna color this man love, yes I will.
And Gregory Coleman, the man who played those 7 seconds, the man who didn't even care for the sound of it, died in 2006. Homeless, broke, never knowing what he had made. That part is not an exaggeration. It is simply the truth. I'll let you sit with that for a second.
Very sweet. Love that man, and I don't.
Number 5, Gene Knight, Mr. Big Stuff, 1971. I want to start with an image that tells you everything about how this industry works. It's 1970. Jean Caliste, her real name, has given up on the music business. She spent the 1960s recording singles for small labels in New Orleans. Local buzz, nothing national. By the late 60s, it was clear that whatever she'd been hoping for wasn't coming. So she went back to work. She got a job as a baker in the cafeteria at a university in New Orleans. That was going to be it for Jean Knight. Then a songwriter named Ralph Williams found her. He connected her with producer Wardell Quezerg, one of the great undersung architects of New Orleans soul. And in May of 1970, she drove to Malaco Studios in Jackson, Mississippi for a recording session. In that same studio, on that same day, a singer named King Floyd was also recording. He cut a song called Groove Me. The two sessions happened side by side. After the session, they shopped Jean's recording around. Every major label said no, but then King Floyd's Groove Me went to #1 on the R&B charts in early 1971. And somebody at Stax Records remembered that session. They pulled Jean's tape back out, listened again, and released it. Who do you think you are? Big Stuff. Mr. Big Stuff went to #1 on the R&B charts and stayed there for 5 weeks. It climbed to #2 on the pop charts. It went double platinum. It received a Grammy nomination for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. She lost to Aretha Franklin, which honestly is about the only loss you can look in the eye and respect. Jean Knight became the top-selling female artist in the entire history of Stax Records, not just in 1971, in the entire history of the label. Think about what that means. Bigger than anyone who came before or after her at Stax. And then disputes with the Stax leadership. Contract ended. She moved through smaller labels. None of it connected the way it needed to. She drifted back to the regional circuit. In 1971, she had the biggest record on the biggest soul label in America. By 2007, she was living in a FEMA trailer in New Orleans, rebuilding after Katrina. You've heard Mr. Big Stuff. You've heard it at a cookout, at a party. Somewhere a record player was going and somebody turned it up. You already know that song. It lives in your body somewhere. She died in November 2023. She was 80 years old. She gave that to us, and she deserved to leave with more than she had. #4, The Floater, Float On, 1977. If you've ever introduced yourself with your zodiac sign in a romantic context, you can trace that directly back to 4 men from Detroit. Ralph, Aquarius; Charles, Libra; Paul, Leo; Larry, Cancer. You're either smiling or rolling your eyes. Either way, it's in your head now, which is exactly the point. Float On is burrowed into your brain, whether you invited it in or not. The Floaters came out of the Sojourner Truth housing projects on the east side of Detroit. Ralph Mitchell, Charles Clark, Paul Mitchell, and his brother James, who had actually performed with a group called the Detroit Emeralds before this, which is where the musical foundation came from. They signed with ABC Records in 1976. Their first single went nowhere. Their debut album came out to almost no response. Then one night in New York, a DJ just threw Float On the air because he liked the bass line, and the phones went crazy. DJ in Cleveland had the same experience, and the calls didn't stop. A BC realized what they had. Float On went to #1 on the R&B charts for 6 weeks. Hit #2 on the pop charts. Hit #1 in the United Kingdom. Sat in the Hot 100 for 16 weeks. For the summer of 1977, this song was inescapable on every station, at every party, in every car with the windows down.
If you feel that this is you, then this is what I want you to do.
Then 1978 arrived. A BC record sold to MCA. New ownership, new priorities, new ears that didn't care about a group the old regime had signed. Their second album, Magic, got caught in the transition and disappeared. The third album followed it into oblivion. Internal tensions pulled the group apart by 1980. The sound that had made the summer of 1977 couldn't survive the paperwork of 1978.
I want you to float.
Two of those four men are gone now. Larry Cunningham died in January 2019. Paul Mitchell died in December 2021. But in that summer of 1977, there's a version of somebody's block party or somebody's basement or somebody's car with the windows down where Float On is playing right now and always will be. And somewhere in that sound, four guys from the east side of Detroit are doing exactly what the song says, just floating. Number 3, Garnett Mims, Cry Baby, 1963. I'm willing to bet most of you reading this know Cry Baby from Janis Joplin's version. And I need you to understand that is exactly the problem, because Garnett Mims wrote and recorded Cry Baby in 1963. It went to number 1 on the R&B charts. It went to number 4 on the pop charts. It sold over 1 million copies. It was unlike anything that had been recorded before.
I'll take good care of you.
So different, so gospel-soaked and raw that label after label refused to release it. Jerry Ragavoy and Burt Burns, the songwriters and producers behind the record, knocked on door after door and got turned away. United Artists finally took the chance.
Baby, believe it won't happen again. I need.
And here's the detail that stops me every single time. The backing vocals on Cry Baby. The voices that lift that record into something sacred, something that feels like it's happening inside you rather than in the room. Those are Dionne Warwick, Dee Dee Warwick, and Cissy Houston. Cissy Houston, Whitney's mother. She was 20 years old in 1963 doing session work in New York, and she is on one of the defining soul records of the decade.
Time, so much pressure.
You've had Dionne Warwick, Dee Dee Warwick, and Cissy Houston singing on a record this whole time. And you didn't know it. Garnett grew up in Philadelphia after being born in West Virginia. Deep church background. You can hear it in every note he ever sang. He had other R&B chart entries after Cry Baby.
But now I know.
But that crossover pop moment, that lightning in a bottle combination of Burns and Ragavoy and Mims and those three voices, it didn't happen again. By the end of the 60s, the offers dried up, and some people would call that a tragedy. Garnett Mims doesn't seem to see it that way. He left the music business and found something that felt like purpose. He became a prison minister, spending decades doing outreach work, bringing music and faith to incarcerated men, working in the places the rest of the world has mostly agreed to forget. He is still alive, now in his 90s, still in Philadelphia.
I'll take good care of you.
Janis Joplin got the chart position for Cry Baby in 1971, number 12 on the pop charts. Garnett Mims got 30 years of ministry and a life that mattered in a different way. I'll let you decide which one weighed more.
I'll take good care of you.
Number 2, Orange Juice Jones, The Rain, 1986. The song itself is slow and lush. A man watching his woman walk down the street with someone else through a rain-slicked window, not knowing he can see her. The production wraps around you. The vocal is controlled, building heat underneath a smooth surface. It's a serious piece of R&B craft. And then, about 3 minutes in, the music fades down to almost nothing, and Juice starts talking. He comes in cool, then not so cool. The grocery bags, the fur coat he paid for, the record collection, the cab money to get her home safely. Every item lands like a point being scored in an argument nobody asked for. Escalating in a way that was both completely over the line and utterly, perfectly recognizable to anyone who had ever been betrayed by someone they loved and couldn't stop themselves from saying the thing they should have kept inside. That spoken word section became something people quoted at barbershops and replayed at parties and used as shorthand for a very specific kind of heartbreak, the kind that comes when love turns over and shows you the other side. The Rain went to number 1 on the R&B charts for 2 weeks and hit number 9 on the pop charts. It was the first number 1 R&B single in the history of Def Jam Records. The first. Orange Juice Jones was the artist who broke that ground for everything Def Jam would go on to build in R&B over the next 3 decades. He grew up in Harlem, was one of the first acts signed to OBR Records, Def Jam's R&B division, built specifically to bring classic soul to a hip-hop audience. And it worked once. 2 more albums followed, neither connected. After the 3rd record failed to chart, he stepped away from the business and went home to take care of his mother, who was terminally ill. He raised his children. He made a deliberate choice to leave. When VH1 later asked him about being a one-hit wonder, he gave them possibly the best answer I have ever heard on the subject. He came, he saw, he conquered, he moved on. You dig? Yeah, Juice, I dig. Number 1, Darrell Banks, Open the Door to Your Heart, 1966. Let the love light shine on my soul, baby, and let love. I'll tell you right now, most of you do not know this name. That's the whole point. Open the Door to Your Heart, 1966. It hits the Hot 100. It gets radio play across the country. It's a piece of Detroit soul, deep and aching and urgent about wanting someone to let you in emotionally and completely without condition or reservation. So sweet to me. That's what keeps my love so strong. A vocal that carries everything it needs to carry. The kind of performance that reaches through the speakers and holds you in place. Darrell Banks was from Buffalo, New York, but he found his sound in the Detroit soul world. That gritty, gospel-rooted tradition that was happening alongside Motown, rawer and more church-like, less polished and more dangerous. You know that I needed you. He was talented. He had something real. He had one shot, and the record got made. Oh, and it charted. And then the follow-ups didn't land, and then the ones after that. And by the late 60s, Darrell Banks had slipped below the surface. The booking slowed, the calls stopped, just another voice that had one moment and couldn't find the door back in. I'm trying to keep from loving you. In 1970, he was murdered, shot to death. He was in his late 30s. And then, years later after he was gone, something happened. The Northern Soul scene in the United Kingdom was built on a simple obsession. DJs hunting through crates of forgotten American R&B for obscure records from the 1960s. The deeper the cut, the rarer the label, the more perfectly it played on a dance floor at 1 a.m. That was the whole religion of it. And sometime in the early to mid 1970s, somebody found Open the Door to Your Heart. It became a floor shaker, a staple. Open the door to your heart, baby. One of the essential records of the entire Northern Soul movement, played in rooms full of people who loved American soul music more fiercely and devotedly than most Americans ever knew to.
Let your love come run me.
Darrell Banks never knew. He was gone before the music found its audience, before people were dancing to his record on the other side of an ocean he never crossed, before anyone had the chance to tell him that the thing he made, the one thing that came through, had found its way home somewhere he never got to go. There is something about that I can't shake. A song traveling to where it was always meant to be heard years after the person who made it could no longer receive the love. If you don't know Open the Door to Your Heart, that is your homework from this video. Go find it. It will not disappoint you. And when you hear it, you'll understand why it's number one. We remember them by keeping the music alive.
My pride is too much for me, baby, and I'm about to